you for joining the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness Let's Make It Count 2020 Florida Point in Time Count Volunteer Training Webinar. Currently, we are accepting applications in the following counties: Brevard, DeSoto, Glades, Hardee, Hendry, Highlands, Okeechobee, and Polk Counties, Florida. The point in time dates and the point in time lead agency are listed here. At the end of the webinar, you'll be provided a handout with contact information related to your point in time lead agencies. This is just a basic point in time overview. During this webinar, we'll cover what a point in time count is, who to count during the point in time count, and basic safety do's and don'ts. You'll be receiving in-depth training at your local lead agency. So what is a point in time count, or a PIT count? It is mandated by HUD to be conducted at least every other year by every community nationwide in the last 10 days of January. It is a literal count of all the people experiencing homelessness in every community during a 24-hour period. And locally, it's utilized to plan services and programs, measure progress in decreasing homelessness, and identify strengths and gaps for the programs that are already existing. So during the point in time count, we count literally homeless individuals and families who are living in emergency shelter, transitional housing, domestic violence shelter, hotel, motel paid by an organization, and places not meant for human habitation. But we do not count individuals and families living in doubled-up situations, hotel, motel if they're paid for by their own funds, or any housing unit, even if it's subsidized with rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, or HUD-VASH, for example. So we're going to focus on the unsheltered count for our PIT. The Unsheltered PIT survey requires volunteers to identify homeless people that are living in places not meant for human habitation, such as on the street, in abandoned buildings, in vehicles, in tents, public parks, in the woods, airports, bus depots, etc. There are 5 basic survey steps for an unsheltered point in time count. The first is when you're approaching a homeless individual, you want to identify yourself. And you want to engage with them. Let them know that you're there to talk with them. Explain the purpose of the count. You can deliver the script that we'll go over in a minute, and you can download it at the end of the webinar. But you always want to get consent from a client to do the point in time survey. Determine if the individual is eligible by asking 2 questions. Where will you sleep tonight? And has anyone asked you to participate in a survey in the past week? These 2 questions will determine eligibility. If an individual will sleep in a house tonight, then they're not literally homeless and shouldn't be counted. If an individual has already participated in the survey, it's a duplicate, and you shouldn't collect the data again. If eligible, go ahead and ask the survey questions and record it however the local point in time agency requires. So some of you may do it via cell phone application, and others may do it in paper form. But if a client isn't eligible, thank them for their time and move on. But if they are eligible and they participate, always thank the respondent. Here's the sample script that I mentioned in the past slide. You want to introduce yourself, talk about what the point in time survey is about, let them know that it's voluntary and confidential, and you're going to protect and respect their privacy. Also let them know if they're uncomfortable answering any of the questions, they don't have to answer it, they can skip over it. And just ask them, would you be willing to take a few minutes to answer some questions? That's the verbal consent. Next, we'll go over basic safety. So here are basic do's and don'ts for your safety. Very quickly, we'll go over this list, but it's also available in your cheat sheet that you can download at the end of the webinar. Always work in teams. Don't ever approach a campsite or a homeless individual without somebody else with you. Your safety is very important. Know when to walk away. If you feel uncomfortable, please walk away or don't approach them. Have your emergency numbers available. Have your lead agency contact information in your phone so that you can contact them if there's a problem. Dress appropriately and don't bring valuables with you. Please leave your purses in your car or at home. Provide shelter or service information if you have it. Don't ever wake somebody. It scares them and you could be hurt in the process. Don't require anyone to participate. Don't ever promise anything you can't deliver. Don't give money or offer rides or ask questions that are not on the survey. Please don't share any confidential information or photos of participants. So if you're taking pictures, which we want you to, take pictures of your team who are volunteering, not the homeless individuals who you're surveying. So what are the next steps? So after this webinar, you will be contacted by your local point in time lead agency. You'll need to attend local mandatory trainings. Get familiar with the survey. Practice the survey with somebody you know. Know what's expected of you. And contact your point in time lead agency if there are any issues. You can download other materials here, like the Day of Count cheat sheet with safety information and script, and your contact information for your local point in time agency. Thank you again for joining us for the Florida Coalition to End Homelessness volunteer webinar for the Point in Time survey. And thank you for making this a great success this year.